Hello everybody, welcome to day 2, whether that is Tuesday or Thursday for you. Yesterday you looked at finding missing angles in a right angle or missing angles on a straight line. Today you're going to be finding missing angles around a point. And by a point I mean a full turn, so that's 360 degrees. So a full turn, your line would open outwards into an acute angle, a right angle, an obtuse angle, a straight line, a reflex angle, and back to a full turn. You'd actually show that by putting your angle all the way around. And when we've got a full point, like this point in the middle here, you might have some of the angles written in for you, and then you've got to find the fourth one. And there are various different ways we can do that. So first of all, what can you tell me about the angles here? I hope you've spotted that each one has got that little square symbol in the middle, which means that each one is a right angle. Now, if you remember yesterday, we worked out that 2 right angles made up a straight line, and each right angle was worth 90 degrees. So 90 add 90 is 180. That means on our full turn, our point, all 4 are 90, which means we have 90 times 4. We have 90 times 4, or 90 add 90 add 90 add 90, or we could say 180 times 2, because we know that these two add up to 180. Here's our straight line. And these two also add up to 180. Here's our straight line. Or you could do it this way. There's a straight line, so these two add up to 180. Here's a straight line, so these two add up to 180. And what I hope you've worked out is the total of a full turn is 360 degrees. Now, I know somebody the other day got mixed up between the number of degrees in a full turn and the number of days in a year. Don't get those two mixed up. The number of days in a year is 365 on a non-leap year. So don't get those two mixed up. Degrees are slightly smaller, 360 degrees, or 90 times 4. Remember, you could just do it as 9 times 4 equals 36, and then make it 10 times bigger. Okay. So here explained is what I have just said to you. There are 4 right angles making a complete turn around this point. The point's in the middle, and they're turning and turning and turning and turning until they meet up again. 4 right angles is 4 times 90, or 2 times 180, which is 360. Okay, what's the same and what's different? Well, I can see that I've still got a complete turn around a point here. However, I don't have any right angles this time. So as with yesterday, when we first looked at the straight line that had missing angles that weren't right angles, I cannot at the moment tell you what any of these angles are because none of them are labelled. I can see that I've got 2 acute and I've got 2 obtuse. I know that these two add up to 180 because they're on a straight line. I know that these two add up to 180 because they're on a straight line. I know that these two add up to 180 because they're on a straight line. And I know that these two add up to 180 because they're on a straight line. There's also something else I can tell you as well. On a point, if you've got just 2 lines intersecting like this rather than an extra one like that, for example, so because I've just got 2 lines here, what I can also tell you is that the opposite angles are equal. So I do know that angle A and angle B are equal, and I do know that angle C, that's a place, angle C and angle D are equal. What that does mean is if I knew the value of just one of these angles, I could work out the rest of them quite easily. We'll come to that a bit later on, but I could do that. So something else to remember, that opposite angles on a cross like this around a point are equal. Okay, so let's see if we can work out this missing angle here. Lots of things already given to us. We know that we've got two right angles, and added together they make 180. And I know that I've got 146 here. So on my bar model, my total is 360. I've got my two lots of 90, which I'm just going to write in as 180. I've done that too far over, actually. I'm going to move that back a bit. Should be exactly halfway, shouldn't it? Right, I've got my 180. I've got 146. Now I can see the last one is an acute angle, so it will be less than 90, but I've got to work out what it is. So, as with yesterday, I could either do 360 take 180 take 146, or I could combine the angles I already know and then subtract them from 180. So just take a minute, pause the video and work that out for yourselves. Okay, I chose to use this method, so I've combined 180 and 146 to give me 326, and then I took that away from 360, and I did that by working out that I forgot about the 300. I did 60 take away 20, which gave me 40. Then I took away the 6, which gave me 34. And the 300s cancel each other out, so I am left with 34. So that final angle there is 34 degrees. And to check that, I would need to add all four angles back together again to check that they make 360. So that would be the way to check them. So I can check it by saying 90 and 90 is 180. Add the other 100, that's 280. Add 40 is 320. Add 30 is 350. Add 6 is 356. Add 4 is 360. So I can work out that they all add up to 360. Okay, now this is going back to what I mentioned earlier. What do you notice about the 128 and the 52 below the line? Now, there are a few things to notice. Number one is that they're on a straight line, so that they add up to 180, which means these two do as well. So rather than doing 360, I can just do 180 minus 52 and get the answer that way. However, something else, if you remember that I told you, was that the opposite angles are equal. So without even working it out, I actually know that that one is 128. But it's always best to check. So 128 add 50 is 178, add the 2 is 180. So it does work. But that's a quicker way of doing it. If you've got a straight line and you've got one of the angles on the straight line, or more than one if it's split more than once, just work it out from 180 rather than 360. Don't forget about your straight lines, they're really useful. Okay, in the files today you have got quite a few activities, and there are a few that get harder. There are a few sort of word activities as well. So I want you to work your way through them as much as you can. They start off with some letters of the alphabet, like, for example, the letter K, which would be on a straight line, and it's asking you a missing letter. You also might have, I can't think what other letters are in there, maybe the letter X. I think there's a letter T in there. I can't remember what some of them are. But it's asking you to find missing angles on letters. Then it's asking you to find some missing angles on around a point. So it might have ones like that, and it gives you some of the angles and asks you to find one of them. There might be a couple of word problems in there, so it might tell you what 3 angles are, and it asks you whether or not they do add together to make 360 degrees. And finally, you've got some destination questions to do. And those relate to right angles, straight lines and full turns. I want you to do as much as you can of them. If it gets to the point where it's a bit tricky for you, then stop, but really have a go and have a think about it. Tomorrow, you're going to be looking at missing angles within triangles and within quadrilaterals. So, but actually, all the knowledge you need for that, you've already done in the last 2 days. It's just applying it in a different context. So everything you need tomorrow, you've already covered. You're just looking at it in a different way. So I will see you tomorrow, and I'll see you all next time you're in school. Bye-bye.